Hello, you're welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing how we can get data from the Facebook Graph API. So I'm going to show you and I'm going to implement how you can get started with the Facebook Graph API, how you can get your data through the Facebook Graph API. The Graph API is the primary way for you to get data in and out of the Facebook platform. It actually allows you to manage your ads, insights, and engagement. And it's actually a way for you to read statistics about your Facebook page performance. So for today, I'm going to show you how you can get insights about your Facebook page platform. So that's what we're going to be doing today. If you're a new user that is just coming to this channel, I would like you to give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. So now let's move right into the video. Go to our URL. Okay, developers.facebook.com. So now we are going to get started. If you're a new user that is just coming to this particular page, you have to register, whereby you have to connect your Facebook platform with this particular developers platform. So now what I'm going to do now is I already registered my Facebook account with this. So I don't need any further registration. So what I'm going to do next is I'll go to my apps. I click on my apps. Then I'm going to go to create app. So I click on it. So now after I've click on the create app. So I'm going to click on the app type that I want to make use of. That is, do I want to work with the business, consumer, or any other app type? So what I'm going to be working with is the business type, whereby I'm making use of the Facebook page. So since I'm working with the Facebook page platform, I'm going to be using the business type. Also, if you want to work with the events, groups, ads, and all those things, you also be using the business app type. So I'll click on the business and I click on next. So here I'm going to put a name for my app. The one thing I want you to know is like whenever you're registering the name of your app, you're putting any name. Ensure you don't use any acronym like FB, Insta, and all those things. Try to make sure that the name is unique as much as possible, because if you don't use that, it's going to flag out the name and tell you that the name is incorrect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put in my name. So I'm going to indicate it my first app, my first app. So I'm going to name it that. Then I'll click on create app. Submit. Okay, so that means I already created my app. So now you can see I have an app ID and all. So from what you can see here, I have an app ID that's been allocated to me. So this is my app that I just created. So under this page now, imagine you want to work with the Instagram Graph API, you want to work with other app events or any other API that you want to work with. So you just have to set them up here, which is going to be connected directly with the Graph API. So you can see it over here. So you just have to set it up. So what we're going to do next is we're going to move to the Graph Explorer page, because that's where we're going to set up our permissions and all of that things that we want to do. So we're going to move to the Graph Explorer page. So we click on Tools. You can see what we have here. Click on this. You just put your mouse, that is your cursor, on these tools. So you can see the Graph Explorer, Graph API Explorer. So you click on it and open it in a new tab. So I already opened it in a new tab. So what I'm going to do here, you can see this tab where we have the access token parts. So you can see the Facebook app, user page. So I'm going to select my app. I've selected the app. So you can see like I don't have any access token for this yet. So what we're going to do now is we ensure to indicate what we want to use. You can see you have user or page. So for this kind of application, because you want to work with the Facebook page, so we are going to select the get page access token, because we have to connect our Facebook platform with it. So now you can see, let me continue. So what I'm doing is I want my application to access my Facebook page. Select OK. So now I already created a connection between my Facebook page and the app that I just created. So you can see I have an access token here already. So that is how to do the setting up and all. So now I already connected my Facebook page with this particular app that I created, and I ensure to indicate page access token, because if you don't indicate page access token, that means you are working with the user access token. So now I already added it. So what we need to do next is we're going to add a permission for our application. So from what we have here, you can see we have two permissions that's been added already. And for this kind of application that we want to do, that is what we want to get is we want to get insights, that is we want to manage all our Facebook page insights and all. So, and when I went to check the documentation to know the Facebook page insights, there are two permissions that has been assigned to it. So the two permissions that has been assigned to it, I would like to show you. So now you can see the two permissions that has been assigned to it is read insights and pages read engagement. So these two permission you ensure like you had it on your Facebook Explorer page. So now we are going to add the pages read engagement. Okay, we have the pages read engagement, it has been added. So the next one we need to add is the read insights. So let's add that one to it. So we've added the read insights. So what we're going to do next is we are going to click on generate access token once again. So now your first app is going to, that is your application that you created, is going to give you, that is going to bring up an option like show a list of the page you manage and all those things. This is just to tell you like permissions that you had it can verify it already. So now it has generated a new access token for me. Okay, so what we're going to do next is this access token, we need to ensure like we extend the longevity. So you click on this small tab over here and click on open in access token. So we click on open in access token. So we go down and we click on extend access token. So we're going to copy this and we're going to paste it somewhere. The access token we have, we are going to change this to a page access token, because whenever we are using it with our endpoint and whole, it has to be a page access token. So what we have here is just an ordinary access token, but we need to get a page access token. So after we've gotten that page access token, that's what we're going to be using to authenticate and do all those things. That's what we're going to be using with all those different endpoints that we want to work with. So here now, I'm just going to show you a demo of like the page access token, what it looks like. So you slash account and click on submit. So now my page access token is what I have here. That is this particular value that I have here. So this is my page access token. It is this particular page access token I'm going to be using with other endpoints. That is maybe with the inside endpoints for me to be able to get all my data and all. So now we are going to move right into our code. What we have here is just like we've set up all our applications, set up a app and all. So we have the app ID, we have the page access token. So with the access token that we extended, we already copied this somewhere. So we're going to be making use of this in our application. So let's move right into our code. So here, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import all our libraries. Let's import pandas. We're going to import the request library also. We're going to import the JSON library. Those are the three libraries we'll be making use of. So here now, the next thing is let's create a function we're going to use. This is whereby what we are going to a page access token, we put in all commands here. So now I've created this function. So I'm going to use the request library inside this function now. So let me declare my URL. So this is the URL that we are going to make use of, because that particular URL was what we use under the Graph API Explorer. So let's use the request library. So we already used the requests library. So let's declare our headers. So we're going to add the authorization, indicate authorization, then the bearer. Let's leave a space over there. And now, remember I told you like we copied the access token somewhere. So we're going to paste this access token that we copied. So I'm going to paste the access token over here. I'm going to paste this access token. So I'm going to add comma because I still had more things to write under these headers. So you can see we already added our authorizations. So this is what we just want to do. We want to use this particular access token to get a new page token, which we are going to be using in our other endpoints. So now let me add content type. Okay, so we are done with the headers. What we need to do now is, okay, so we're going to make reference to what this thing is going to return back to us. That is, we're going to use our JSON library that we imported over here. So let's say response data. So we're going to use the load method from JSON library. So we're going to do response.text. Right. Okay. So let's return our response data now. Okay. So now we're going to call our function. So let's see what this is going to return back to us. So this has returned the page access token, and it's also returned my ID also. So now we are going to be making use of this new access token that we generated, which is the page access token. We're going to be using this in our application. We're going to use it for other endpoints and all. So that's what we're going to be making use of. And we also need to copy the ID. Let me copy the ID out. So I'm going to be using the ID. So now we have a new page access token and we have the ID. So these are the two parameters that we're going to be making use of subsequently. So what I'm going to do over here is I would like to use this particular function, just pass it into other functions I'm going to be using. So let me just look through the values that I have inside this JSON string that is returning back to me. So let's look through it. So let's take the data parts. So let's say data is equal to I then access token. So we don't have to start copying it. We just use this function, then we use it, we call it in other functions. Okay, so it's going to return our data. So we have only the access token. So I'm going to call this page token in other functions I'm going to be working with. So now we are done with this. That is, we have our page access token and we also have our page ID, which I copied earlier. So it is these two parameters we're going to be making use of. So now I'm going to work on how we can get total reaction on a particular page. So let's go down and let's see what we can do with this new access token that we have on our page. So this is just tell us like the number of likes that we've had over time, possibly through our posts and all. So we're going to get all the total reactions. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a function just like we did earlier. So let's create function of total reactions. So we specify the endpoints for that particular we specify the endpoints we're going to be making use of. So the endpoint is the insight endpoint. So this is it. The endpoint is insight endpoint. So here we are going to add the ID that we copied earlier. So that's what we're going to use here. So let me put it back over here. So this is the ID I copied earlier. So I'm going to add it over here. You know, we have the endpoint. So we've indicated that now. So, and this particular URL that we can have different metrics of what we want to use. For here, I can decide to have different metrics like page action post, reaction total, maybe a different metrics. So the best thing you can do is just go through the documentation and know the metrics that you want to use. There are different metrics that we have over here. Just go through the documentation, just like I'm opening this up. So you can see all these different metrics that you can make use of. So you know what you use and know how to use them. It's not just about adding them, you must know how to use them. So what I'm going to use as my home metric over here, that is the particular data I want it to get for me. That is the particular data I want this to extract for me. So I'm going to indicate that. Let me have the question mark in. So we have the page actions, actions. So this is just to get the all the page reaction, that is for all the reactions that I have on all my posts. This is just like a summary of everything, like the total reactions. So that's what this metric is doing. So and with these metrics, I can also add a particular time range of the particular metric. Maybe my the Facebook I've created my page for about, let's say, maybe 10 years ago or something. So I can be able to specify the particular range of data I want this to get for me. And one thing I want you to know is the data that is getting for you is not going to display all your data. So there's a particular amount of data this the graph API can display. So now I'm just going to cut this short by using a, let's say, a very small time range. So what I'm going to use is, let me use a small time range. So I'm going to use since and until, year, months and dates, months and day. So I have the since and until. So what I'm doing with this since is just telling me like the year before, and then the until is just like the year after. So you have the 2019 then to 2020. So just like I told you earlier, you can use the metric. That is, the metric is just to tell you that this kind of this data that I want to get, the category of the kind of data I want to get. So now you can also add a time range, which is just like the time value. That is, we have the since and until. So now we have a URL already, so we're going to use the request library over here. So let me use this as data. So let's use the request library now. Request.get. So use URL. So let's add our headers just like what we did earlier. Remind you, for this particular authorization I'm going to add inside these headers, I'm now going to be making use of my page access token. You know, I told you earlier you can't make use of the access token, you have to use a page access token. So the page access token that we got from this earlier function, we're going to be referencing it under here. Error. So now I'm going to call the function that I had earlier over here. So let me just copy the name of the function. I'm going to call it inside this my function here. Then you add comma because we still need to add the content type. We have the application slash. Okay, so we're almost done. So now let's move to the response that this is returning back to us. So reaction, let's say total reaction response. Let's just name it total reaction. And we use the JSON.load. So we're going to do data.text. So this is just to convert this to a text file. So okay, so what I'm going to do over here is I'll try to put this inside a list so that I don't have to be running this function over and over again. So let me just put this inside a list. So it is this particular list I'm going to be printing out whenever I need them. Let me call this total reactions. Total reaction. So now I'm going to name this total reaction. Then let's append this with the results that we're getting from here, which is the total reaction. So okay, so we have it over here. Now I think we are done with everything. What we need to do now is we're going to call this total reaction. We're going to print a function. So let's print the value. Okay, so I'm going to call this list, that is the total reaction list. So now you can see, so you can see all this data that this is returning back to me. This is giving me you can see my number of likes, you can see the end time and all. So even with what I have over here, this is just like everyday data. You can see each of the day that I have a particular like, you can see the end time and everything. So this particular data that I got here is just like a particular time range. You can see other different likes and all that I have that particular post. So now you can even add different metrics together. You can decide to add more metrics to it. Maybe you can know the posts that have this kind of particular likes. So you can use this and then you can be able to get all your data, have all your statistics, know how your page is performing and all. So you can have all these things. So now you can see this particular one I have here. So there's a particular thing you can do in Python. Just like I told you, like the number of data this thing usually return is not really quite much. That is the API. It can return to you, let's say 8,000 data per row at a time. It's not possible. So what you just need to get to do is probably you might create a Python, let's say a particular Python function that can be able to loop through the particular years. Maybe you create different consecutive years. So that particular function can be able to loop each of those years. So and then you can be able to get all your data at once. But it is still not going against the API rules. That is, it can return up to 1,000 data. So you can even check the um, you can go and check the documentation, read up on it, and try to know the kind of data that the amount of data this particular API returns per time. We can also get the number of fans that we have over time. That is to know the number of fans that we have on our page and to know how much like all these fans have increased over time. So you can use this Phasograph API to extract all different kind of data that you're interested in, just to know the rate at which your page is growing and all, and for you to know your statistics and everything that you need to know. This is the end of this video tutorial. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, write a comment below, and please subscribe to my channel and ensure you click on the notification button. I would love to see you next time.